Hello everyone, welcome back to Painting with Martin. We're back with another painting video this time. I know it's been a while, and today we're taking a look at Unmatched Battle of the Legends Volume 3. And in this box, designed by Rob Davio and published by Iello, and thank you very much Iello for giving me the opportunity to paint this one and also show you later how to play the game. Another video at Essen Spiel. So I met them at Essen Spiel and they gave me this box. So thank you very much, Iello. So in the box here we have actually 4 figures. We have got Blackbeard, CHUPACABRA, Pandora, and Loki. And on the box, I don't know if you can see it, but of course that's Blackbeard with a pistol. Loki over here. Pandora over here, hopefully you can see it, and you have CHUPACABRA, like the monster creature over here as well. So I'm going to put this box away for a second, but I'm going to keep it handy nearby so I can take a look at it when I paint one of the figures, and guess which one we're going to paint. Look, I'm going to move the camera over here just a second, so hopefully it won't shake too much. Hopefully that was okay with you guys. And we're going to be painting CHUPACABRA today. Now, before we actually start painting it, I have to say that I have already primed it using a special Vallejo primer called Panzer Grey, because CHUPACABRA is quite dark in its color and want to make sure that it kept some of the shadows, and that's why I used this primer. You can of course use a primer of your choice. You can use white as well if you want a lighter color, and there are various ways of painting this one. I'm going to show you my approach to it today. Now, I've also base coated it with a coat of Caliban Green from Citadel. Hopefully you can see this one today. And this is to make sure that it got at least a base coat. And I wasn't entirely sure how to paint it. I wanted to see how it came out because I only have one. And if I make mistakes, I have to take off the entire paint, start over from scratch. And you don't want to see that on the channel. So this is what it looks like when I've actually painted it in that base coat. And also you can see the remnants of the primer here as well. That's like very grey, and the stone here as well that it's standing on. It's a quite beautiful miniature, and still I'm not sure entirely how to paint it. So this is going to be kind of almost like a test run for me, because since you only have one of these, I could of course painted it, showed it to you in like a shorts, and then you could have like gone like afterwards. But I wanted to show you how to paint it from the first scratch. So let's get going. We're going to put on a heavy dry brush on top of it right now. And then we're going to give it a little bit of a wash before we start working on the mouth and facial details, before we go over the rest of the figures. So let's get started. So we are not going to apply some Caliban Green to it, but I'm going to keep as close to the box art as possible. So if you want to rewind the video and go back to the introduction using the chapters underneath here, that means you will see that that's what the box art looks like. So I'm going to come close to the box art using Wag Flesh from Citadel, and this is going to be mostly a Citadel video for like the Citadel colors, giving it a good shake, make sure all the pigments mix. And of course that means since we're dry brushing it, we're going to take a dry brush. So for a dry brush, I'm using my go-to dry brush. You can use an old brush if you want to, but I use a round brush. You can use a flat one if you like as well, but this one is from the Mini War Paint dry brush base. It's from the Citadel series. I like it for this video, and I also like it for other purposes. Of course, I put lots of paint from the well. I'm going to use a piece of kitchen roll over here. So if you never dry brushed something before, this is a good opportunity to learn. It means you soak the paint in your brush and you wipe most of the paint off your brush. So if you want a heavy dry brush, you will use more paint, and if you want a very light dry brush, you will use less paint. So I'm going to use a fairly heavy approach here, but not too heavy. And I'm going to start by slowly moving over the figure here. As you can see here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's it's a very subtle like color differentiate between this one. Also, I'm not painting the entire miniature with this one. I'm only painting the surface areas where the light would be coming from. The other ones I'm keeping in Caliban Green to make sure that's what's shown. So the front paw here as well as the tail here too, all the way. Don't forget the back of the head. And the other sections like the inner leg here, as well as the inner back leg here, I'm not actually attaching. I'm leaving that in the original color of Caliban Green to make sure that there is a slight color variation as well. And I don't know if you can see it now. I can see it, but it's very subtle for me as well, and it gives a very light tint of another color here. So a good thing with its dry brushing is that it's very fast to dry it. So I'm going to close my paint pot here, and then we're going to take a look at the mouth. Mouth is very small, so I'm going to take off my glasses because I'm wearing glasses. That's what happens when you get old. And I'm going to use a color called, it's a base color called Barak Nar Burgundy for the mouth details, like the gums. The eyes I will paint last. So in this case, I'm going to use a fairly small brush for this one. This one is size 0 from a Winsor & Newton Cotman series. And I'm going to apply it in a very thin layer around the mouth. Like not in where the gums are. Not where the teeth are, because the teeth here are visible, but they're very, very small. So I'm not sure if I can do it even with this one, and I might actually paint over the teeth as well. Hopefully you can see this. I will give you a close-up in a second. Looks like this. Very subtle, very dark. We can lighten it up later on with adding a little bit of white, or maybe even going up to Demonetide, which is this one, which is an option as well if you want more of a purple tone. Now, when this one is actually, like the dry brush is already dry, of course, we can go over and actually do a selective shading using a color called, no, not built-in green. Let's see if I had it over here. I'm supposed to have it. Coelia green shade would be the one that I'm looking for. Obviously, I'm really messy here. Ah, there you go. It was hiding behind the paint pot. So Coelia green shade would be my go-to here, because it has a bluish tint, and it's a good opportunity to add this one to selected parts of the miniature. So for this one, I'm using a regular brush. I'm using it neat. You can dilute it as well if you want to, but this one here, I'm going to apply it here over the areas of the streaks here, like the kind of like over here, as well as the inner, like the joints here of the, as well as the front here. I want it a little bit darker. I will also do it around the eyes to get those eye sockets really visible. And this is what we call a selective, almost like a highlight shade. I don't want to shade the entire miniature because it's already fairly dark, and I don't want it even darker. And here I'm putting out a little bit more here on my hand, putting here where the shades here, like where there are some kind of crevices. Also putting it on the spikes up here on the top, all the way back into the back of the tail here. Turning on the other side here, also these sections here will be more visible. The joint sections here. And the front again, can apply a second layer. And again, also on the eyes. The eye sockets actually, inside of the ears, and this is not the first shade we're going to be using. I'm going to save a special shade for you guys also for the claws here. Want a little bit of shading on the claws. And on the back of the claws you can do that too if you want to. I'm doing that here and also here as well. if I get the back of the leg here a bit too much. Going back over here for the second layer. If it's too much, you can use a damp brush as I'm using here to soak it up. Looks quite okay already. You can see the scratch marks or the claw marks or the muscles, whatever you want to call them. While we're still at it, I'm going to go over and start applying another layer of paint for the gums. And the gums, I would really like to have a kind of more red, but not pure red. But we're going to try the pure red anyways. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to put out the layer heavy red just to make sure that I can get like what it looks like. No, it's too dark. That's what I thought. We're going to try from Army Paint or War Paints. It's one of the cool reds here. It is a cool red, and we're going to see how this one pans out. Just a second, guys. So in this case, I'm going to use my same brush as I used before. I'm going to take my glasses off just to make sure I have the correct approach here. Already a bit too much. Looks like this when it's like done, close to it at least, keeping some of the gums as well. And if you are painting this yourselves, you can use an even finer brush if you have it. This is the finest brush I had at the moment, or just one with a better tip and you'll get a better result. But as you can see, the wash is not entirely dry yet, so we are going to go over and paint the stones. For the stones, I'm going to close the paint pot here. I'm going to use something called Administratum Grey from Citadel. You can use, if you want to, something like Celestial Grey as well, if you like. And I'm going to paint it over the stone here. Make sure that we cover it. Taking great care not to touch the rest of the chupacabra. And for those of you who don't know what the chupacabra is, I didn't know. This is a mythological creature from the Latin American folklore, a terrible monster, and it has vicious attacks in the game, like really, really nasty attacks. I haven't had the chance to play the game yet because I do have a policy in my channel, that I don't play a game that has miniatures unless I've painted them first. Unless it's very, very urgent and I just need to get feeling for the gameplay. It can get a bit tricky to get in between here for all the places. And if you make mistakes, you can just cover it up with some Calvin green here as well. If you want to, you can paint the original, the thing here underneath as well with some of this color. I'm going to wait with it because I want it to be having a little bit of a jungle feeling, so I'm going to touch that in a bit. But now this one is almost completely dry. So what we're going to do next is we're going to apply another color. We are going to go back to the wag flesh again. The wag flesh is going to be applied again with some slight mix of either Skarsnik green to lighten it, or you could also do something called Elysian green, your choice. I'm going to try with the Elysian green. Turns out to be very, very almost like camouflaged. So I'm going to put it out over here. I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of the wag flesh, and we'll see this. More or less, I'm using 2 parts wag flesh and only 1 part or half a part of Elysian green here as well, just to get it a slightly different tone. In this case, I'm using it neat, and I'm touching up the muscles here. Front paw. And the other leg as well. And the wash is really coming out here to really have a nice light highlight here. Touching up the spikes here as well. And with this color, making sure that it's a little bit lighter than the rest of the figure. And you can do a second layer if you want to. I'm also touching up the tip of the ears here, as well as the top of the head, because that's where the sun is shining. Using the back of the brush to touch up the spikes as well. And you can do this in like 1 or 2 layers. I'm applying a second layer here, very thin layered. Only where the raised areas are actually. And we're almost done with the body, and now it's time for the mouth. Mouth is going to be a little bit tricky because it's going to be very tiny, but the teeth are very prominent here, so, and also the eyes will do. So we'll use some cold white from Vallejo. You can use some, I said this is going to be a mostly citadel color, but I was wrong. There's going to be a little bit of mix, as it always is. And in this case, I'm using the finest brush I have. In this case, I'm going to have to use something even finer. So I'm going to look for something that has an even finer tip. Maybe even have to use a new brush for this. With a very fine tip like this. Take on my glasses because this one requires a little bit of extra work. Dabbing a little bit, just not really painting, but just dabbing. This is a red grass painting handle that I can turn, which is really useful in this case. Don't forget the upper part of the mouth. Something like this would be, I guess, acceptable for this level. We are going to also paint the eyes now. Eyes, we're going to use some of the same red as we had before. And here we just need one single dot. And this is what I find the most difficult. It's one dot. Let's see if I can do the other. And that's another dot, just like this. Very small, looking very angry and vicious, just like in the video. And it says here that I oversaturated with a little bit of too much red. So what I will do here, just to fix it, is to go back to the Barrack Nar Burgundy and apply it with a little bit of touching up. Something like this. Now, there are some things on the card art that you can't get on the miniature, at least not with my level, but I'm going to try to get some degree of purplish hue to it. So that means we're going to use a shade called Druki Violet over some of the selected areas of the miniature. This is an entirely optional step. You really don't have to do this if you don't want to, and this is also entirely experimental on my part. Because in the card art, not in the box art, you actually see some of the pictures are a little bit purplish, and I'm going to use this one not neat, and I'm going to use it with about 2 parts water and 1 part Druki Violet. You can use Lamine medium for this as well. And I want to do this and go over some of the areas on the back of the tips, darkening them slightly, and also the front here with a little bit of darkened purple hue. Then I'm going to use some neat violet on top of some of the body. And I'm going to spread it around, moving it over the highlighted areas only on this side. I'm going to use a little bit on the other side as well, on these areas here, and in the folds as well, giving it a slight different hue for this one. Entirely optional step, and you can paint this one inside the mouth as well to darken the area and giving it a little bit of a tongue as well there as well. Now, if you want to, you can paint the base of your choice. I have chosen to leave it grey, but you can paint it with sterling mud, put some flock effects on it as well. I may do it for my Instagram page, and please follow this one as well. It's the same thing, Painting with Martin in one single word. And otherwise, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. It really helps me grow and helps me gain visibility to other painters and other people who want to see how easy it is to paint on, put some paint on your miniatures and get them ready for the table. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to Iello for giving me Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 3. This is the CHUPACABRA. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching.